Welcome to the Soulful Summer Series, where it's not woo-woo, it's wow-wow. Hello, nature friends. As part of our Soulful Summer Series, we are starting some special interviews with guests that I think you are going to find really intriguing and helping us to explore deeper the role that nature connection plays in our spiritual, soulful health and well-being. Without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the guest that I'll be interviewing today. And her name is Jackie Levin, and she is a board-certified holistic nurse and coach with more than 30 years of experience as an advocate for health and wellness of health professionals and others in the healing arts who want to care for themselves so they can do the work of caring for others with mindful awareness, compassion, intuition, and spiritual well-being. Her studies with master teachers in holistic nursing, intuitive medicine, shamanistic arts, and indigenous wisdom traditions led her to create a series of transformative programs that combine the power of mindful awareness and time in nature. She is today going to talk to us about one of those programs called the Medicine Walk, which I personally have done her workshop and found it extremely valuable, and that's why I'm really excited to share it with you today. And I'll be curious to see what you think. Jackie is also a published author in award-winning holistic nursing textbooks and presents at national conferences. She resides in the Pacific Northwest, where she is writing a memoir and spending lots of time in nature and with her spouse and their English shepherd. So without further ado, let's bring on Jackie and talk about the Medicine Walk and her experiences about how nature fulfills and enhances our soul and our as part of our Soulful Summer Series. So welcome, Miss Jackie Levin, and we are thrilled to have you here for our Soulful Summer Series, and especially because I have done your workshop, your walk, medicine walk workshop, and it was really transformative and very deep and meaningful that it's still a practice I use today. So I thought it was really fitting with what we're doing this summer. So if you would just go ahead and tell us a little bit from your perspective of what the medicine walk that you offer is and how you came to find this.
Yeah, thanks. Love being here and what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm a nurse, and I this will be a little winding path, kind of like a path through the forest, I guess we could say. That uh, my first probably formal awareness of how to use nature as a messenger for soul messages came through my holistic nursing graduate program. And one of the required texts was the medicine cards. I don't know if you could put those in the show notes.
Oh,
The
wow.
medicine
Okay.
cards by Jamie Sams. And you shuffle them like a tarot deck, and you pick a card, and the card has an animal on it, and then there's a book that goes with it and tells you the meaning of the card. It's you use it with a question. And so you would use have a question in your mind. I'm not sure what direction I should take. I'm not sure what's important to me now. And then you can shuffle the deck, pick a card, and read about what message is for you. But we were also would do these retreats during our graduate program. And we would again be sent off into these nature reserves where we were, again with a question, walk walk a path, walk off the path, see what you noticed, and then we would journal about what we experienced and what it might mean to us. I also studied with Dr. Christine Page during that time. She's a medical intuitive, and we would be in these big conference halls with, 200 people, and she would just send us out into city streets
Wow.
like with a question. and looking to see what signs emerged for you to tell you some answers your soul was asking of you, or you were asking of soul, either way. And later I studied hypnosis, so I began to get into the way of accessing our unconscious. And I then studied with some indigenous teachers who also were trained in the nature based work of the Lakotas with the Vision Quest. So I began combining all these things into this practice of taking a question into nature, and nature can be in the city, it could be in the suburbs, it could be in the rural countryside, or it could be in the wilderness. Any of those things.
Wow. Well, it's interesting that you talk about the link with the animals. And I don't know if you remember, but right before COVID hit, I had called you because I hike out in this one section, there's two woods areas, one in New York and one in North Carolina regularly. And I have done that for years and I have never seen an owl. And this one day I saw a pair of owls and they literally followed me through the forest. And then when I went south, I was riding my bike and stopped, and it must have been 2 or 3 feet. It was a huge owl. And I remember saying to you, I feel something, that this isn't just like, oh, how cool, it's an owl, it's something. And then we dove deeper, and one of the meanings of seeing an owl is death is coming. And that was like a month or so right before COVID. And I
Mm,
just remember that as such a uh like just being aware of the feelings that you get. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how you distill all the chaos and noise around us into just knowing, that knowingness.
yeah, the body, just what you described, in a way, the body for me and for many of us is an incredible wisdom teacher. It tells us things. And years ago, my husband and I were deciding we were going to start a Airbnb business. We have a downstairs, it's a separate entrance, and we were excited to do that. Or I thought we were excited. But every time I thought about it, I would get a little queasy in my stomach. And I didn't quite know what that queasy meant. Like, oh, was it excitement queasy or don't do this queasy? So we embarked on it, and it was not for us. So I began to really pay attention. Did with many other ways that we can gain access to information and wisdom for our own journeys and decision making, is my body either feels a genuine sense of excitement and energy, or it feels heavy, anxious, or queasy. And so I begun to notice that those are my tools. So I can ask myself a question and just notice what my body is telling me. And I think for any of us, what we have to do is it's sort of a game of practice, make a wrong decision. Oh, that, I guess I misinterpreted that body cue. And then you get better with every time you start using that as part of your messages. I practice mindfulness, I teach mindfulness, and that's also a way of quieting all the chatter so I can get to that distilled meaning. I also explore the variety of meanings. I don't just limit it to one. I go, well, could it be this or could it be this? And then I just explore, and sometimes I do that journaling or in conversation with someone.
Interesting. So what you're basically saying is we learn how to discover ourselves. And I like how you say it's a practice, so you give it a try and then you're like, oh no, that signal meant that. And you start linking the signals and the feelings with the reality of what happened and what the outcomes or the experience, the decision making situations unfold. Um, that's so I think that's helpful for a lot of us who, when we're especially in the new aspect of this, to know it's not like this is how you do it and it's perfect and it's done. It's a slow, and that's one of the big things that we're talking about this summer is being still, slowing down. And what do you think it is from your perspective with nature that nature allows us to get to that space?
Hmm. I want to get there, but I want to just also bring in terms of the practice, the going into nature with a question is similar to dream work. That we get these images and stories at night when we sleep, and we wake up with them, and we don't always know what they mean. And so it's a process again of discovering what some of those images we kind of mean for you over time. And so similarly with the medicine walk, it's like you could ask yourself, just like a question before going to sleep, you can ask yourself a question before going out into nature. And so what is it about nature that helps us? Well, it's physical, it's tactile, I think, as one thing. It's so um, it's so unbiased in a way.
Mm.
It is what it is. I mean, of course, there could be multiple, messages that we get from it, but a tree is a tree is a tree. And but look at the bark; it's different. And is the bark peeling, or is it a tree that called your attention that is dying, or is it a tree that's called to your attention that's just sprouting out of the ground? And how did it manage to do that with this dark canopy? And so there's a lot of ways to be able to ask yourself, what might something mean? One of the things that I was on a walk, and I was wondering what to do with my nursing practice. And I came across a log that's called a nurse log. And the nurse log is one that where it's actually a dead or dying tree in which another tree, maybe even of a different species, pops up and starts to grow from that dead log. And so here, even in nature, things that are dying are very fertile and are giving life. And the other thing around death, just to remind us, is that death is just an ending. It may also be portending not the death of a life, but portending the death of something, a job, a relationship, a belief system. And then we can have a new beginning from that point. But getting back to nature is in the sense of it's all around us. It's something that can slow us down in that we're looking at details.
Mhm.
And in the walk, it's important I say when you're carrying your question, it work to avoid a yes, no question and maybe frame it more in show me what I need to know from soul's perspective, if you want to be asking soul, or my guide's perspective, or nature's perspective about this particular situation or question that I have. And then you kind of metaphorically put that question in your back pocket and you let it go. And you enter your walk with just curiosity. What is calling your attention? Try to stay off your phones. If you need to, you could snap a photo if it's going to help you. Um, and then after your walk is to come back and if you're by yourself, just journal what you saw. Make it into a little story and then circle some of the potent things that stood out for you and spend time, maybe an hour, maybe days, maybe weeks, especially if it's a big decision. Knowing and your body, what is your body telling you? And then be able to make some discernment as to what might be your next steps.
Yeah, and so when you do this process, as someone who's gone through it, and we did it with a group, you are really good about being the outside perspective, holding the space, and pulling from us these little tidbits, these little things that are showing us and helping us identify what the meanings are.
Yeah. So it's a process of reflecting back to you, but from a higher perspective, beyond just the immediate, um, and seeing and exploring how might this impact you or have a different reference for you than you usually put it in.
And
The
and
thing is, soul can speak in riddles, and that's one of the challenges.
and as someone who's been practicing this, I notice some days I get the answer right away. It's clear as a bell, it's strong, and other days I'm walking and walking and weaving and noticing, and like you say, it's not until you kind of it's like little clues put it all together. And then eventually and the answer that I'm looking for often comes more as like an aha moment of like, oh, and then I don't even realize it's there, and then I'm like, oh, that's that answer. That's the answer to the
Yes.
question.
Yes, 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 exactly. Because sometimes we're imagining what the answer is going to be, and
Yes.
it's different. And so we try to stay open, not so directed in this practice. It's more fluid. But I also f- a very important process for me, or a moment for me with the medicine walk was I was in a relationship with my then partner, Mary. She has died, so it's my late partner. And I was living long distance. I was working in New York. I was going to graduate school in New York. She was in Vermont, and it wasn't yet a committed relationship. It was a monogamous relationship. We were just with each other, but it wasn't yet like, okay, you're the one, and I'm sticking with you. So this had been about a year and a half after we had met. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and she had surgery, and she was between surgery and when chemo was going to start. And I had to go back to New York City for graduate school and my internship, which was at a hospital in New York City. And we, I was on this drive, and I kind of have several routes that I could go to New York, but I just followed whatever it was guiding me on a particular route. And on the way, I passed this place called Dead Creek, where there was the the once a year in the fall weekend where thousands of snow geese land.
Wow.
So I'm driving through, and I pull over because the year before Mary had brought me here as a surprise to see this phenomenon. And she said, "Do you know that there are the 7 lessons of the geese?" And so one of the lessons is that there's the leadership rotates. The lead geese leads only until it's a little fatigued, and then it goes to the back, and then another one steps forward. They honk to cheer each other on. And then if one falls ill, one or two stay behind until that geese is able to recover and fly back with the flock or dies. And in that moment, seeing the geese, having had that experience, I knew that I needed to continue graduate school, but I was going to move to Vermont. And I was going to be with Mary and take care of her in whatever way needed to happen until she recovered or until she died.
Wow.
And so sometimes, like you just said, in that moment, you just know. I knew I was questioning what am I going to do, and I reset up my internship to be in Vermont, and but I didn't know that was the question I was driving with.
Interesting. So you don't even have to formally ask the question. It can be bubbling up,
Yeah,
stirring around.
yeah,
And yeah, and that takes up a lot of energy. You don't realize that undercurrent of questioning and worrying and thinking and all that. And then maybe that's why it feels like a little of a release when the answer does come, like a,
Hmm.
yeah, interesting. And so you still do this practice today, I guess.
I do. I do it with myself and I guide other people on their own journeys.
Yeah, awesome. The one before we talk about where our audience can find you, um, when you talked about the indigenous people, do they believe that the guidance comes from God, or what is their typically how to thoughts, or do they have different, or you know what I'm saying? Because I think for all of us, I think one of the things that's so exciting about doing this more soulful summer and exploring this is, um, I obviously don't know everything. I'm not here to say this is the way it is. And there's a lot of us out there questioning and experiencing things that are called woo woo. And in this series, we're saying it's not woo woo, it's wow wow. Because the more we share these stories, the more we realize I've been experiencing that too, and so have I. Or, um, this has nothing to do with church, but it was through music or nature or whatever. So I guess just a question about what the indigenous framework or thoughts or practice or beliefs or.
Well, I can't really answer that question.
Hmm.
Um, Out of respect for the multitude of indigenous peoples across the planet. And oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. It's right there on the tip of my tongue. Says, we all have indigenous souls somewhere within us. Martin Prechtel writes that in one of his books. The I think it's good to go back to whatever is your own roots. So my roots are from Judaism in some respect, and also my parents were very nature-based people. My father, we always went camping, he fishing. Took me out fishing from a young age. He would stop on the side of the road to rescue a turtle that was crossing the road to make sure it didn't get hit. Sometimes we begged him, and he would bring it home for a couple days and then take it back to the spot that that he found it at. Um, so it's I think it's just really diving into what has meaning for you. And I think that's why nature is so helpful in that it's for everyone.
Hmm.
It's not like a particular religious um, dogma or practice, but it's one of quieting your mind and allowing yourself to be directed with from something other than ego.
Mm, okay.
And I think if there's one thing I could say that I do believe would be true for many indigenous people is that develop a relationship with the land you're on.
Hmm.
So if you are, I used to do a lot of medicine walks when I lived in New York City. Um, I could find parks, but I could also do it right on my block, just with a question. There'd be something. And it could be human made, didn't have to be, a tulip growing, a planted tulip growing in the median. It could be a sign.
Hmm.
Um, you know, uh, if I'm carrying a question like, should I take that job? And I come across a roadblock that says, do not enter. I go, oh, I guess not. So the messages can be the same with is a log is blocking, the path. So it could be a nature-based thing, or it could be something from an urban environment.
Interesting. Um, so we have just a few minutes left, so I just want to ask you if there's anything further you want to share with us, because you're so knowledgeable about this and uh, like-minded as our group, our community is.
Yeah, I was just going to take a quick look at my note. Um, I like to use the phrase be willing to be surprised.
Mm, that's a good one.
So that you are you're going with curiosity and the willingness to be surprised. And so you're allowing in the aperture with which you look normally through things is pretty narrow. That's what we do. We're busy and we're in our path and we're doing our task. And so when you're willing to be surprised, you can just really open up the aperture. And so much more comes in. And you could do the same question over 3 days too. You could take it on several walks. Say, I'm going to do this 3 times. I'm going to take a morning walk in my neighborhood and I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to journal about it and I'm going to come back and I'm going to see what has emerged over these 3 days. And
Wow.
sometimes you could tell the story to a friend, a trusted friend, to say, what do you hear in this? And you don't have to take what they say, but it may also provide another level of insight for you.
Yeah. And again, always tuning into the body and what you're feeling
Yeah.
and well, I deeply appreciate you being with us here today, and I will pass along your information to our community. So hopefully they'll reach out because it's such a worthwhile experience. And once you do it once, it just it becomes more automatic. And I find that my morning walks are so much, sometimes I'm just walking and not without any question, but very often lately I've been walking into the forest and stopping and noticing and grounding and saying thank you for the forest. And sometimes I just say, what would you have me know? Maybe I don't have a specific question. And it never fails. It really is fascinating. And so I hope that more of us can tune into this so that we can find that collective message because I think nature is so welcoming to all and that unifies us more and in the world today that's so chaotic, we really need that and peace.
Yeah.
So thank you for helping us get there.
You're welcome. Thank you
Uh,
for having me and enjoy your soulful summer.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll talk again soon.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
So that ends our interview with Jackie today. I hope you found that insightful, maybe intriguing, and maybe motivating to try some of the tips that she shared. I will include more information about Jackie, how to contact her, and her Medicine Walk program in the notes here in the comments. If for some reason you have trouble finding that, please reach out to me at thenaturenurse.com. There's a contact box there. Just let me know that you need the link and I'll be happy to email it to you. So we hope you will consider liking, commenting, share, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and share with other people that might find this helpful. All right, thanks again, and we'd love to hear some of your experiences if you'd like to share. You can again reach out to me at thenaturenurse.com. Thanks again. We'll see you again with our next interview very soon. I think you're going to find that really intriguing as well. Take care.